Hi, I'm Mars Roberge, also known as DJ Mars in the DJ world, Mars Roberge in the filmmaking world, and I'm here with Katie Chats.
Hi, I'm Katie Ullman reporting for Katie Chats in downtown Toronto with filmmaker Mars Roberge. How does it feel to have your film, The Little House That Could, screening in Toronto tomorrow night?
It's a real big deal for me because I went to film school here at York University and graduated in '95. I got sidetracked with DJing and different things, and then I just disappeared from the world completely in 2000. And tonight I'm going to be showing a movie which sums up what I was up to in those 10 years when I disappeared from Toronto. So it's kind of like I never left, and I'm getting to see a lot of old faces. So really nice to be home.
How did you initially meet and start working with Patricia?
Well, I got a job at the store, and it was one of these situations where I moved to New York, didn't know where I was going to work, gave up, and on my last resume I happened to be sitting in front of the place, and I walked in and I gave them an application. They were really hard on me, but it was kind of an inside joke, and my friend DJ Larry T walked in and said, "Oh, you know Mars, he's a sweet boy." And then they said, "Well, in that case, we definitely don't want you to work here." But anyways, I got a job at the store, and the day I started working, she had a party to celebrate her Venus store in Soho, the grand opening, or I think it was second year anniversary or something like that. And I met her right then and was kind of introduced to the whole world of New York in that first day of being there. So that's how I stumbled into it.
What inspired you to make this documentary?
Well, the store has a lot of personalities, everybody from Amanda Lepore to Richie Rich. All these people have come out of there. And while I was at that store, there were so many interviews every week on Sex and the City. And I just thought, you know, there should be something about the House of Field, which is what we are actually called. Her family's called the House of Field. And it goes into us walking runway competitions in Harlem against voguing balls and stuff like that. We were the House of Field. So I'm like, I need to do something on this. This needs to be covered. It's never been covered before. So that's how it happened.
And when you were making the film, was there anything that you discovered about the House of Field that you didn't know prior to making the film?
Well, part of why you don't ever hear about the House of Field is these people live fast and die young, most of them. And this store has been around since 1966, and I couldn't find anybody that worked there before the 80s that unfortunately wasn't passed away. So that was one interesting stuff I learned about that place. Other things I learned was with her store, Patricia Field, everybody from Marc Jacobs to Margiela started selling stuff in there. Artists like Basquiat and Keith Haring got their start in the art world by doing displays in her window or making shirts for the store long before they did an art gallery. And little tidbits like finding out Madonna actually hated gay people originally, and the House of Field let her know by not allowing her to shop at the store, to having a transsexual named Cody Ravioli who worked at the store throwing out John Kennedy Jr. for being homophobic. Little things like that you don't hear about.
How do you hope that audiences respond to the film?
I hope it leaves people with a glimmer of hope that you can be different, that you can, if you stick to your guns, you don't have to follow anybody except what's in your heart, and that's kind of what Pat teaches. And she's been doing that long before like the Party Monster movie or Club Kids were around. She's always been that.
And how do you hope that Patricia responds to the film?
Well, she's seen it, and I was like really nervous because she was one of the last people to see it on my list, because I wanted to be in the room with her, and she actually supports it 100%. She got the movie more than anybody else has, which as a filmmaker, that says a lot if your subject actually understands it better than everybody. And at one point I was going to do the commercial thing and try to sum things up and explain things a bit better, and she said, "Why do that? Everybody does that. I like the way you did it. You're jumped and thrown right into the party, and nobody's done that with my store, so I give you my approval." So that was really nice. She's actually throwing a big party for it in New York next Thursday, where we're going to screen it in front of her, the new House of Field.
And what types of projects do you hope to develop in the future?
Well, it's funny. I've been writing a script about a corrupt telemarketing company that I worked for in Toronto in the early 90s that got shut down by the RCMP. And I'm working on a few stars right now. I'm talking to people. I'll say it on your show before I'll say it anywhere else, but I actually lined up a Toronto singer, Astero, who you might know, who I ran into my neighborhood in LA, and she's going to be in my movie. I'm working on getting Jerry Mathers, who is known as the Beaver on Leave It to Beaver, in my movie. I want to bring him back like Tarantino did Travolta. I'm doing it for the Beav, and Moby's agreed to be in it too. So it's gonna be a really cool cast. It's very like a Breakfast Club type of movie. All happens in an office. So I'm finishing the script for that, and right after you, I go and I talk to this Canadian production company about keeping it in Canada and shooting it up here in 2014, bringing all these people like Lydia Hurst and Lydia Lunch to Toronto while I make my movie.
And where is the best place to find out more information on you and The Little House That Could, and your DJing as well online?
For the movie, thelittlehousethatcould.net. It's a website dedicated to the movie, all the press and all the links around it. As for DJing, it's kind of funny. I'm going from DJing 21 years to kind of filmmaking now, and I realized in the process the only reason I became a DJ was I was at York University and I wanted to write a movie about DJs, so I started researching, and then I became one and kind of dropped out of filmmaking and worked at this club called Death in the Underground that was at Queen and Bathurst. But I'm DJing a couple reunions right now. I'm doing a club in Toronto at the Velvet Underground tonight. Spinning afterwards at the movie screening at Big Picture Cinema on Gerrard tomorrow night. Next Wednesday I'll be DJing at a party called Dorian Gray, which is the new It spot in New York City, run by a guy named Kayvon Zand, who has this elaborate following. He's a bisexual Marilyn Manson that has a following of naked boys and girls that follow him from club to club, kind of like the Addams Family. He's a really nice guy. He gave me a job, so I'm working for him. Check him out, KayvonZand.com. I think he's going to be the next big thing out of New York, actually, right now. And I do parties sporadically with superstar DJ Kiyoki, who they made the movie The Party Monster about. We do a party at Dim Mak Studios, which is Steve Aoki's club in Hollywood. He's the owner of the label that had the Block Party and all these kind of hipster bands. So we're doing that sporadically throughout the year, maybe like 2 or 3 times right now. That's about it for the DJ stuff.
Well, thank you so much. Congratulations on a great career as a DJ and now a filmmaker, and best of luck with the film.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me. I just wanted to say what you don't see here tonight, and I don't know if you're going to keep this in there. I got a big cut right here. I got a cut here. I got a little scar there because I got in a huge fist fight with a crackhead right behind you right before this interview. I was actually out of breath when I started the interview. I've been studying Jeet Kune Do under Bruce Lee's student, but doesn't teach you everything on what to do when you're fighting a crackhead that's biting you. Anyway, so I guess that's my welcome home.
I hope you feel better.
I have to go back to a safe place like New York City or the Bronx.
Thanks again. I'm Katie Ullman reporting for Katie Chats in downtown Toronto.